been over a year since I promised a mega modded Stardew playthrough, and I'm happy to say it's finally here. In this video, I'll play 100 days of Stardew Valley equipped with close to 100 mods. If you want to check out what mods I used in this playthrough, all of them will be linked in a Google Doc in the video description. So with that being said, there's a bunch of new villagers, locations, and mysteries to discover. So let's get my new character made and make my way to Stardew Valley. I kicked off day one of my mega modded Stardew journey with Robin checking out the first mod, a modded farm type called the Zenith Farm. With all the expansions I've installed, there are pages of items I need to ship and almost 100 villagers to greet. I collected my gifted parsnips and went out to my mailbox where I already have some letters from people in Sunbury and East Scarp, 2 of the 5 major expansions I've installed. I quickly sowed and watered those aforementioned parsnips, then ran into a cutscene between Lewis and his sister Lenny, the mayor of another major expansion, Ridgeside Village. I then ran around town saying hello to a bunch of villagers that are new to me, including Kenneth, Eli, and Juliet, before making my first purchase at Pierre's, who has a bunch of more seeds thanks to the 𝘂𝘪𝘪 mod. I got all of those thrown down back at the farm, then ran down to Cindersap Forest, where a wolf that can speak and understand English gave me quite a shock. I introduced myself to another new villager named Jasper, collected some spring onions for stamina regen, and went down to the beach where I met Carmen. As the sun set, I chopped some wood at the bus stop to create a chest and organize all of my resources I've collected before ending my day by briefly checking out Sunbury Village and heading back to the beach to enjoy the dynamic reflections and visible fish mod, which probably wasn't a smart idea since I passed out just a couple of feet away from my bed. I quickly regained my stamina with some forageables to start day 2 and got into the crop field to get these plants moist. Down at the docks, I introduced myself to Willie, who hooked it up with a free fishing rod, then went around town introducing myself to a host of more villagers added with the expansions, and that's the last time I'll mention it. We're going to meet a whole bunch of new characters in this mega modded world in future cutscenes, so just know that I'm spending time chatting to a bunch of people off screen. I got my first ever foraging level with this daffodil, and continued my way up to the lake to catch my first couple of fish. Over in East Scarp, I met local veterinarian Jacob, who lamented the state of this field as we're surprised by a feral cat, and then I went back to the mountain lake, placed a chest, and did even more fishing. As the sun started to peek behind the horizon, I took my first trip on the aerial tramway up to Ridgeside Village. Lenny met up with me and showed me around all of the spots in this new location, and I spent the afternoon introducing myself to all the Ridgesiders. Yet another mod I can show off is the Walk to the Desert, a new location that allows me to literally walk to the desert. But what I didn't know is that there are a bunch of monsters here that beat the shit out of me. Thankfully, Harvey was still on duty at 8 p.m. to fix me up and send me on my way out to the Aurora Forest, another location added with Stardew Expanded, before calling it a day where I got my fishing up to level 3. As always, day 3 in Stardew Valley is a rainy one, so I picked up a quick foraging level up at the farm, plopped down another chest, and got to reeling in some catfish. And that's literally all I did today. I managed to catch about a dozen catfish and passed out after an entire day by the river, where I picked up a couple of more fishing levels and selected the Fisher perk. I checked my mailbox to start day 4 and received a recipe from someone named Styles. I watered all of my growing crops on the farm, then went down to Willie's shop to sell off all my scaly boys. I took some of my profit and picked up the expanded backpack, grabbed all my fish at the mountain lake, and doubled back to Willie's to get even more money. With all the expansions I've installed, I was able to access the mines a little bit early and pick up a rusty sword, then met a local adventurer named Mateo, along with a fuzzy little shadow boy named Sen. I spent most of the day in the mines and made it all the way down to level 10, and then decided to go to bed and picked up my first level of mining. Clint woke me up on day 5 with the furnace recipe, quickly followed by Marnie with a cat that I adopted and named Parsley. My first batch of parsnips were ready for cultivating, then it was up to Ridgeside to meet some new people and give Alyssa a birthday present. Back in Pelican Town, Lewis showed off the dilapidated community center before I ran over to Pierre's to pick up some more spring seeds. The traveling merchant made her first appearance, and she even has a portrait thanks to the They Deserve It 2 mod. It's unfortunate though that her stock of goods today isn't as inspiring as her new portrait. So it was back to the farm to plant and water all my new seeds before I spent most of my afternoon clearing the trees, twigs, and rocks from the front of my house. I made a quick trip to the saloon to introduce myself to more villagers, then spent the remainder of my day in the mines, getting down a couple of levels and grabbing a fishing skill book. I made some more chests to organize all of the resources I've gathered thus far, and went to bed where I got some level ups in farming, foraging, and combat. Another sunny day on the Zenith farm begins by checking my mail the morning of day 6, where the wizard has requested my presence before harvesting some ripe parsley, the crop, not the cat, which rewarded a farming level. I quickly got my growing crops nice and wet, then beelined it to the wizard's tower to ingest some hallucinogenic liquid to gain some druidic powers. I can now work towards restoring the community center, and took my first step by completing the spring foraging bundle. Back at Pierre's, I invested all of my money into some parsnips and potato seeds, and spent most of my morning getting those sown and watered in front of my farmhouse. The remainder of my day was spent getting deeper in the mines, where I put a cap on my spelunking at floor 20. The traveling merchant had another opportunity to impress on day 7, but another disappointing inventory was what I expected. Today is Lewis's birthday, so I gave him some fresh parsley, then dropped by the museum where I was introduced to everyone's favorite librarian, Gunther, and I made my first donation. As today was another rainy one, I spent most of the day catching some high-value fish, including the all-important eel, before collecting all the ones useful for the community center. I quickly got as many dropped off at the fish tank as I could, then ran back home to finish the day by selling off the extras and picking up the 7th fishing level. The clouds have parted and Stardew is once again bathed in sunlight as I get my potatoes watered to kick off day 8. I completed a request from Evelyn for 1 dandelion, grabbed a singular cauliflower seed from Pierre, then went over to the saloon to purchase some salad since I was going to spend all day in the mines. I managed to find a pretty decent weapon upgrade in the form of the forest sword on floor 24, and made it down about a dozen more ladders to end my day on floor 35, where I was rewarded in rest with a 2nd level of mining and combat. Another crop of parsnips is ready for plucking on day 9, before it is back to watering all the soon-to-be harvest veggies. I took a quick trip to Ridgeside Village and ran into a mysterious 𝘠𝘵𝘠, but what I was really here to do was give Anton a birthday present. Back at Pelican Town, I donated some more minerals to the museum and items to the community center bundles, then went to the final major expansion location, Zuzu City, for their annual block party. Honestly, there isn't much to do here outside of meeting some new people and getting some friendship points, so it's a shame that it took pretty much the entire day. Yet another round of parsnips are ready for harvest the morning of day 10, so I got those collected, did my daily watering, and went down to Sunbury Village. I hung out at Diala and Duria's cafe and met Mood and the 𝘠𝘠𝘠, went over to the Sunbury Museum where Elias tasked me with collecting some unique minerals, and ran into Ophelia, who gave me some more farmland. I probably won't touch it for a long time, but it's nice to know I have some extra real estate should I ever need it. And with that session of introductions out of the way, there's only 6 more people to meet, one of them being this Ridgeside elf adventurer, Geo. And I spent the afternoon just talking to people, finally meeting the last person on my list of introductions, Freddy, which added a name to every single sprite on the relationship tab of the menu. I then went back to Zuzu City to explore what the location has to offer, which honestly isn't much compared to Sunbury, Ridgeside, and Eastscarp. I then ran back to Pelican Town to make some more progress on some bundles. I showed my pal Linus it's okay to dig through the trash cans, and spent the remainder of my day doing some farm beautification. I must have picked up some cloth somewhere yesterday because Emily woke me up on day 11 to let me know I could use her sewing machine at my leisure. I picked up another level of farming thanks to these ripe potatoes, before getting even more of them watered for tomorrow's harvest. Up at Ridgeside Village, I picked up a request for Ezekiel, then ran over to the hotel to give Isabel a birthday present. I saw a cutscene of Alyssa singing in front of her house, then went back to Pelican Town to pet the goodest boy, Dusty. I reinvested into some parsnip seeds, which I subsequently fertilized for the quality crop bundle, and completed yet another Evelyn request, before spending the remainder of this day in the mines, making it all the way down to floor 45. All of my potatoes are finally ready to be pulled up the morning of day 12, so I'm excited to get some money today. I saw a quick cutscene about Anton, who is definitely down on his luck, before giving my boy Ezekiel a birthday present. Down at Fairhaven Farm, I officially introduced myself to my local rival, Andy, before purchasing a walleye from the traveling merchant. That afternoon, I organically discovered another great mod I installed, Automate. If I put a furnace next to a chest full of ore and coal, it'll automatically smelt into bars and deposit them into the chest, which is incredibly cool. During my mining session, I got a pretty sweet drop of a lead rod and the Stardew Valley Almanac, but that wasn't enough to get down to floor 55, and I had to retreat. But at least I could complete a request for coal from everyone's least favorite future bachelor, Clint. I finished my day off by dropping some items into bundles at the community center, selling off a bunch of crops, selecting the tiller profession for my 5th level farming upgrade, and earning 15k in potatoes. Demetrius woke me up on day 13 to ask me what I would like the cave on my property to be used for, and obviously, bats are the best option. I collected some strawberry seeds from Andy in the mailbox and spent the morning prepping my crop field for the massive amount of strawberries that I bought from Pierre at the Egg Festival. I enjoyed talking to everyone at this massively expanded festival grounds, did my best locating as many eggs as possible during the hunt, and ended up taking the W away from all those stinky children and Abigail. As soon as I got back home from the festival, Lorenzo met up with me at my front door to give me a bunch of stuff since he was friends with my grandparents, and I finished the day off by extending my crop field and watering all the new strawberry seeds. The Queen of Sauce was on the airwaves to kick off day 14, and I picked up the coleslaw recipe. I got all my seeds nice and wet, then ran down to Cindersap Forest to find the traveling merchant had nothing I found desirable. I got some carrot seeds exchanged for a prize ticket at Lewis's house, then ran up to Ridgeside to give local Baroness Maeve a birthday gift. And she took me outside to make sure I don't tarnish my grandparents' memory by squandering their farmland that she desires. Another birthday girl is Haley, who got a shiny amethyst, before I ran down to Sunbury, where Ezra is also celebrating a birthday, and the opportunity to create a dress for the Annie Hathaway. A potential lawsuit for using the likeness of a specific celebrity aside, I went up to the saloon and bought a couple of salads, and made it all the way down to level 65 in the mines, courtesy of some cherry bombs, and passed out just outside the Adventurers Guild, hoping Marlin helps me get home. A rainy day 15 begins by harvesting some high-quality parsnips and getting farming level 6 before running over to the community center to drop off those parsnips and some more spring crops. I purchased a cucumber seed from Pierre and got that planted along with some garlic before running up to the mountains to complete a wood request from Robin. Juliet got a frozen tear for her birthday. I dropped off some more minerals and artifacts at the museum, then ran into the kiddos in the forest playing in the sludge from the sewers. I spent a bit of my afternoon fishing at the river where I picked up a handy-dandy fishing skill book to read, ran over to Olivia and Victor's house to give another birthday girl a frozen tear, then went up to the mountain lake to reel in a frog, the final fish I needed to complete the night fishing bundle and unlock the boiler room bundles. I quickly ran to the mines to pick up some resources I found spelunking to complete the blacksmith's bundle, which unlocked the bulletin board. Completing the adventurer's bundle activated the bundles in the vault room, and I completely restored the boiler room at the first opportunity by finishing the geologist bundle. As a very exciting day comes to a close, I sold off all the fish I caught today and went to bed where the Junimos fixed up the minecarts as I slept. I've got back-to-back rainy days on day 16, and I kicked this one off by arranging my chests full of mining stuff next to the furnaces to utilize the Automate mod. And now that I have access to the minecarts, I can introduce yet another mod, Integrated Minecarts, which I'll be using to traverse to the many locations in this mega-modded valley. One of those locations is up to Ridgeside, where it's Trini's birthday. Now that I'm level 6 in farming, I can start crafting quality sprinklers and automating my farm chores. But with the rain coming down, today was earmarked for another mining session, equipped with Gus's famous salads. I made it all the way down to floor 75 this evening, and spent the last hour of the day crafting sprinklers and sacrificing some strawberries for the sake of automation. The sprinklers definitely helped me conserve some stamina as I watered crops and collected a cucumber and cauliflower the morning of day 17. I beelined it to the community center to donate those veggies and complete the spring crop bundle. I made my way to East Scarp, where I found Dylan chatting up a crow named Thistle. But what I was really here for was to give Bernice a frozen tear as she was sleeping like a Stardew tooth fairy. I went up to Ridgeside to water some flowers with Trini and drop off another birthday present, some asparagus for Philip. I then spent the day mining, where I made it to the lava levels and picked up some new boots before dropping by the Adventurers Guild to pick up a quest that kicks off the expanded Adventurers Guild mod. I then ended the day by trying to get to level 90, but didn't have enough time to get that far. The morning of day 18 was spent crafting some quality sprinklers and getting those plopped down before seeing all the JoJo workers gawk at Eli and Dylan getting into an argument. Pam is our special birthday girl today, so she got a high quality parsnip, before I saw Morris try to put Pierre out of business. This quick day was put to rest as I continued making progress in the mines, crafting additional sprinklers, and selecting the fighter and miner professions as my 5th level combat and mining level up perks. The morning of day 19 was spent harvesting some ripe crops and watering the growing crops that don't have sprinklers. The traveling merchant didn't have anything I wanted today, so I ran up to the community center to make some dye bundle donations before going to the museum to donate minerals I found in last night's mining session. Speaking of mining, I finally made it down to floor 100 and consumed my first star drop of the playthrough to increase my stamina. Then it was back to the farm to get more crops outfitted with quality sprinklers, take my first trip into my bat cave to collect some fruit, and then I finished the day by cleaning up the farm a little bit. My automated farming process is coming along smoothly the morning of day 20 as I get all my plants watered. Then it's over to the community center to deposit some forageables that I found in the bat cave yesterday. Maru celebrates her day of birth today, so I gave her some quartz before running over to Jody's to give her a cauliflower to complete a quest. I spent the afternoon fishing up a bunch of largemouth bass to complete a request for Willie, then dropped by the saloon to share a pint with birthday boy Shane. I finished off the day back at the community center donating some fish, and then I went home to put down some more quality sprinklers. As I caught some Z's, Mr. Key took a plane ride to drop off mystery boxes throughout the valley. A rainy day 21 starts off with the first harvest of strawberries of the season. The traveling merchant didn't have anything of note, but it is Ophelia's birthday down in Sunbury, and I'd be remiss if I didn't give her a gift. Up to Pierre's, I sold off my strawberries for almost 24,000 G and ran over to the bookseller who has the typical offerings, plus some more items courtesy of the Buttons Extra Books mod. They're too expensive for me right now though, so I just bought the first edition of Way of the Wind to read and increase my walking speed. With the remainder of cash I had left, I purchased the second backpack upgrade from Pierre and spent the rest of my day reeling up as many catfish I could find and selling them all away. As I slept, I got level 8 farming and learned how to make the all-important keg. Ridgeside resident Yuma woke me up on day 22, imploring me to make my way up to the village, where Lenny was waiting for me to hand me a request to repair their minecart system. That'll definitely happen later, because right now I need to water all my crops and chomp on some green beans with my girl Leia. I'm back in Ridgeside later that morning to give a birthday present to Sean, then ran over to Clint's to get my first tool upgrade going, the copper axe. Over in East Scarp, Eloise got a birthday daffodil, and then we hung out by the pond and talked to a duck. The rest of the day was spent trying to get down to floor 120. I did find a solid weapon upgrade, but unfortunately I didn't have enough time to get past floor 109. I quickly watered my strawberries that didn't have a sprinkler to help me out the morning of day 23 before making my way over to Shearwater Bridge to catch some expanded fish. Willie also spent the morning fishing as he showed me his catch of the day in Cindersap Forest, where I found Jess lost in the maze and promised to take her home. With the child successfully returned to her house, I gave Andy a birthday butterfish, which maybe I shouldn't have, as I later saw him give Lewis a public tongue lashing at the town square. With the commotion subsided, I went over to Clint's to pop open a couple of geodes and donated all of the new minerals to the museum before running back home to place down yet another quality sprinkler. It seems like verbal abuse is on the menu today, as Philip was vocally accosted by George before I went to Pierre's to complete Robin's Lost Axe quest. With what time I had left in the day, I made some more progress in the mines, capping the session off on floor 115, and ending the day by being a singular sprinkler short from completing my automatic crop watering project. Day 24 begins at the community center, finishing off the crab pop bundle, throwing a mushroom into the field research bundle, and purchasing the cheapest vault bundle. Down at the beach, I exchanged enough wood to repair the bridge and have access to the tide pools and their forageables, before making my way to Cindersap Forest for the annual flower dance. Of course, I said hello to everyone for that sweet, sweet friendship bonus, bought my first rare crow, and then asked Isabel to dance, and surprisingly, she accepted, which might be the first time I've ever had a dance partner in year 1. But it's quickly back to farming to start day 25, where I got more strawberries and another farming level up. I then committed to getting to the final level in the mines, where I found myself a mushroom floor, and then managed to find the final ladder to descend to level 120, completing the mines and collecting the skull key. Back surface side, I collected my copper axe from Clint, sold off my strawberries to Pierre, and dropped off another mushroom in the exotic foraging bundle before giving Haley a topaz to complete a quest. With my first skull cavern session on my mind, I got a copper pickaxe queued up with Clint, then went over to the museum where I met Nora the herpetologist, a new modded villager. She's hard of hearing, so shout out to all my hearing impaired friends out there. This visibility is for you. I spent that afternoon running around the valley catching new fish from various expansions before ending the day back on the farm removing some stumps from my property. As I caught some Z's, I was able to select the Gatherer profession for getting level 5 foraging. Day 26 begins in East Scarp collecting a tiger trout, dropping off some fishing treasure chest artifacts in the museum before receiving a quality sprinkler from Sophia. While I was at her house, I caught myself a goldfish and enjoyed a quick breather from my busy day by playing a super relaxing game of Junimo Kart. Local entrepreneur Pierre got a carrot for his birthday to improve his vision since he's been robbing me blind since day one. And then I ran up to the community center to finish off the riverfish bundle. I then spent the remainder of the day running around the valley to various locations to 1. Catch some fish you can only get in spring, and 2. Catch a couple easy ones that I can donate to the community center, and finish the day by making another donation to the Vault bundle. A spot of cauliflowers ready for harvest to start day 27, then it's over to my farm entrance to start the monumental task of cleaning it up. My copper pickaxe was ready for collection at Clint's, and I got the steel axe upgrade going while I was here. I dropped off some artifacts I found digging around town at the museum, then ran down to Sunbury Village to give Jumana a birthday daffodil. As spring comes to an end, I continue knocking off fish I won't be able to catch in 2 days, gave birthday girl Emily an amethyst, and donated that king salmon I caught to the specialty fish bundle. The rest of the day was spent farming dust sprites and looking for frozen geodes. Day 28 and the final day of spring begins by watching the Queen of Sauce and learning how to make an omelet. The traveling merchant had a bunch of great stuff for me to pick up this morning, which all got tossed into various community center bundles, including the penultimate vault donation. Bridgeside residents had 2 birthdays today, starting with the butler Sunny, and ending with my big man Bert. While exploring the monster-laden highway outside of town, I picked up the Monster Companion skill book from a mob drop, before remembering I can walk to the desert with this mod. So even without the bus repaired, I can take my first steps into Skull Cavern, where I pretty much spent all day hoping for a rare prismatic shard drop, but no dice. I then ended the spring season by expanding my crop field with quality sprinklers to get ready for summer seeds. But before we get into those long, humid days of summer, allow me to introduce this video sponsor, me. If you've seen my videos before, you already know the drill. This entire video will be mid-roll ad-free. There will be no loud sponsors or anything that will disrupt you from a blissful rest if you choose to fall asleep to this video. All I ask in return is that you do 3 things for me. First, if you could subscribe to the channel and enable notifications. Doing that, along with slapping a big fat thumbs up on this video, lets me know that you really enjoy this Mega Modded Stardew series and want to see me perfect it. And finally, if you could leave a comment letting me know if you'd rather fight 1 Jack, 1 Duck, or 1 Goose, that'd be awesome. It really helps with the engagement algorithm, and honestly, I'm just curious how many of you think that you could take me in a fight. Fair warning, I'm 5'6" and a meaty 150 pounds. Alright, quick plug over, back to the video. As I stepped out to see all my dead crops the morning of day 29, and the first day of summer, I quickly ran over to the community center to deposit some items I found in the desert yesterday. Over at Ari's Market in Sunbury, I bought some new crops, then ran into Demetrius at the Pelican Town Fountain to talk about the history of Stardew Valley. Clint finally finished my steel axe, then I saw Kiahi's mom Leilani return to the valley. I planted, watered, and fertilized all the seeds I just purchased, before utilizing my upgraded axe to gain access to an expanded secret woods, fully equipped with new forageables and a free rare seed. I made sure to collect all the berries I could, got those donated into a bundle, then went to go give Jessie a birthday present. I spent most of my afternoon in the Aurora Forest collecting wood so that I could complete the construction bundle before making my way to East Scarp to meet the local inn owner Rosa and complete a request for her. I spent the remainder of the day using my new axe to efficiently clear out more of my farmland. I woke up on day 30 with a couple of messages stuffed into my mailbox full of seeds, town updates, and forageables. Over at the mountain lake, I caught a couple of sturgeon, then made my way up to Ridgeside to give Lola a birthday ruby. The remainder of the morning was spent running around the valley catching some summer fish so that I could complete the specialty fish and lake fish bundles. I made a quick butternut squash seed purchase at Pierre's, cracked open my first couple of mystery boxes with Clint, and spent the remainder of the day farming copper and iron ore, along with working on the Dust Sprite Monster Slayer goal. With the boulder finally being removed by the mountains, Susan was at my door to kick off day 31, and I also had a message from another mod edition that we'll explore in due time. I really wanted to spend the day in Skull Cavern, so I walked my way over to the desert, picking up some fruit underneath this rainbow tree while I was making my way over. Another mod I am utilizing is the Sword and Sorcery mod, which allows me to dual-wield weapons, which makes traversing the cavern much less intimidating. And that's what I did all day, culminating in a dinosaur egg drop that I will definitely not give straight to Gunther this time. And before bed, I crafted and threw down some lightning rods since it's going to be dark and stormy out tomorrow. I started day 32 off at the Aurora Vineyard, picking up a strange doll before running down to the tide pool dock to catch the red snapper. I quickly accepted a request from my pal Sam, then finished off the ocean fish bundle, the last bundle to completely refurbish my least favorite community center section, the fish tank. With the train station now open, I received a request from Clint to remove this boulder on my first visit. I then utilized the train station to head over and check out another mod, the Stardew Aquarium. Very similar to Animal Crossing, this is a new location where you can take all those fish you would typically sell and donate them. I'm sure it'll take a while to complete, but I made some decent progress today. Shane had a bender last night, so I quickly woke him up with my watering can before giving Jess the strange doll I picked up this morning for her birthday. Over at a rainy cindersap forest, I reeled in a gar, then made my way back to the desert to spend the day in the Skull Cavern, where I spent so many in-game hours on just this one floor alone, which pretty much wasted my trip. As I slept, my Juno pals worked through the evening to destroy the stone at the mountains, which was the first destination I sprinted towards on day 33, so I could finally pan with 𝘂𝘁𝑚𝑐. Before I do that though, 𝘚𝘂𝘠𝘍 has a request for me to complete. I reeled up a carp for Sam in the mountains, gave me Young some cookies for her birthday, then exchanged that carp with Sam for a prize ticket. I quickly finished off that Clint quest I received yesterday, then ran over to Robin's to purchase my first farm building, a chicken coop. I had to place it in an awkward spot, so I spent the afternoon clearing off a section where the coop will go once it's built. I then spent the rest of the day in the Skull Cavern getting a bunch of mining XP. I'm back below the surface to kick off day 34 as I finally dispatched the last ghost I needed to complete 𝘚𝘂𝘠𝘍's request. Clint seems to have cleared that boulder at the train station, so I made my way to the mountaintop pre-perfection and collected some rare flowers, one of which I gave to Martin for his birthday. I ran into Morris and Lewis having another domestic outside 𝘚𝘵𝘢 as I left the supermarket, and then met some new Ridgeside villagers, 𝘚𝘵𝘠 and Malaya. I was interrogated about my intentions with his daughter by Demetrius, and had Sean confide in me and the children that he is trans. As I'm recording this, it is June 15th, so Pride Month is here, baby. A huge shout out to all my LGBTQ+ gamers out there. Back up to Ridgeside, I made friends with Yuma's turtle Torts, then finally donated the necessary items to fix the minecarts up here. My steel axe also has the ability to unlock a new Ridgeside location, where upon entering, I was quickly informed by Geo that dying here is more likely than not. And he wasn't playing. Some of these enemies are tanky and hit hard, so I did not stick around. Back at the farm, I annoyingly couldn't complete a Robin request, even though she's right there, and finished the day by starting Key's casino questline. The traveling merchant is back in town to start day 35, but nothing in her inventory tickles my fancy. As I made my way up to Ridgeside, I was intercepted by Kiahi, then ran up to the minecarts to see that they have finally been repaired. With no plans to do any mining in the near future, I finally had a window to upgrade my pickaxe with Clint. I then went back up to Ridgeside to pray to the mountain spirits with local butler Sunny. I caught some new Ridgeside summerfish, enjoyed a free beverage from Pika, and finished the day with more fishing in Sunbury Village. My first round of summer crops are ready for harvest to kick off day 36, before I went down to the beach to be the worst wide receiver Alex has ever witnessed. Up to the saloon, Gus got a birthday present, and then I moved the coop to its correct location at Robin's, and got her working on a silo to hold all the hay to feed the chickens I'm gonna get soon. While cracking mystery boxes open at Clint's, I uncovered the treasure appraisal guide, which after reading, will increase the price of artifacts I sell. I finished off this day by drinking some brewskis at the Forest Lake with my boy Shane. Day 37 begins in Ridgeside Village, giving Olga a birthday present before picking up my steel pickaxe at Clint's. I walked over to the desert once again and formally introduced myself to Sandy at her oasis, where she now sells some new cornucopia seeds. The remainder of a very short day was spent in the Skull Cavern collecting iridium, but still no dice on that prismatic shard. As I got deeper than 25 floors of the Skull Cavern yesterday, I woke up to a gift of 10,000 G from Mr. Key in my mailbox to start day 38. I know exactly how I want to spend that money, but before I can do that, I need more hardwood. Over at Marnie's, I got a couple of chickens that my live chat decided to name Nugget and Bongo, who are the cutest little beans thanks to another mod, 𝘚𝘵𝘄𝘪 farm animals. Another farm animal I'm adding to the gang is the horse by purchasing the stable from Robin's. And while I'm up here, Maru gets a birthday strawberry. Over by the bookkeeper's landing, I located a free prize ticket and spent most of my evening searching for the crimson fish in vain. But I did have some time before bed to collect some hay in the silo. I had some ripe bell peppers, wheat, and summer squash ready for collection the morning of day 39, before spending some time clearing off more trees from the farm. Today is the infamous Stardew Luau. I plopped my gold quality sturgeon in the soup, said hello to everyone from all the villages, before ending the festival by getting the unforgettable soup and networking achievements with all the extra friendship points the former achievement grants. With what little time remained in the day, I used my steel pick to unlock the dwarf, and went down into the mines to try and dig up the 4th dwarf scroll, but no dice. I had a couple of guests wake me up on day 40. First was Gus with the jukebox recipe, and then Jarek, who threw down the gauntlet to see who would be the better farmer. With all these crops coming in now, that was a very silly competition to suggest. As I was making my way up to Ridgeside, Blair gave me quite a surprise before I was able to give Faye a birthday present. Back in Pelican Town, Penny assisted George with his mail, before I spent another evening in the mines where I successfully unearthed the final dwarf scroll to end the day. Robin finished my stable on day 41, so I had a new farm friend that my live chat named 07. My first round of melons were ready for harvest this morning, so I collected those and donated a couple to various bundles at the community center before running over to the museum to catch Penny teaching the kiddos and to donate some artifacts to Gunther. With that Dwarven translation guide ready to be read, I helped out Kiara with picking a new wallpaper for her room, but I was really here to give her a birthday present. Over at Evelyn and George's, I got some fresh cookies and saw George fight Harvey before giving out another birthday gift to Alex. He and I went outside to pet Dusty, then I went to the dock next to the tide pools to finally catch the crimson fish. With all those melons harvested, the farm has a bunch of open space, so I got some blueberries purchased and thrown down before spending the remainder of the day clearing more trees. Everyone's favorite color of rain has finally hit the valley, leaving me unable to get this Queen of Sauce recipe on day 42. The extra foraging bonus from wiping out these big weeds is nice, and the fact that my first round of blueberries are ready is even nicer. But it's definitely a sore spot of mine that Floor is too scared to accept a birthday present. I quickly checked on all the Pelican Town folk at the saloon, then went up to the community center to finish off the summer crops bundle. I then spent the remainder of the day running around the Aurora Forest clearing moss bunches for foraging XP. Day 43 begins in the crop field collecting some fresh coffee beans. Then it was over to Sunbury where I played with Amina before the town gathered to witness the summoning of some demons. Who knew they had an interest in random farm towns? While I was down there, I had a nice little chat with Ophelia and gave Silas a birthday present before diving into the Sunbury mines for the first time. Just as a quick side note, these mines are pretty overpowered for XP and mineral grinding early game. If I could go back in time and only explore these mines after maybe year 1, I definitely would have. But I'm a curious guy, so I used and abused these mineral nodes. Sue me. Back up to Pelican Town, I did some math with Maru and Demetrius, but I was really here for the big chest recipe and to complete a request of stone from Robin. Back on the farm, I quickly replaced all my old chests with larger versions and ran back to the town square to gossip with the ladies. Over at Clint's, I cracked open some more geodes and donated the new minerals I got to the museum, then saw a couple of cutscenes with Mateo and Juliet, who has a new furry friend. I spent the final moments of my day in the secret forest, reeling in my first wood skip. Some tomatoes and summer squash are ready for harvest the morning of day 44, then it's up to Ridgeside to give birthday girl Lenny a hot pepper. I had even more geodes to crack open with Clint, and then I made my way to the desert to spend the entirety of this short day in the Skull Cavern. Thankfully, I didn't die even with this swirly level and all these serpents coming after me. A rainy day 45 begins inside watching my favorite TV chef teach me how to make pancakes. The rain hasn't deterred our friend Gunther, who is at my front door to share that the museum has won some type of reward, so go team. While I was running around town, I saw Marlon sneakily enter the town sewer system before rudely interrupting Sam and Sebastian's jam sesh. But Sam got a pretty sweet birthday gift out of it, so he can't be too mad at me. Down in Sunbury, I helped out my boy Ari by moving some heavy boxes, gave Blake a birthday gift, then just hung out with him in the pouring rain by the swing sets like we're in some angsty teens music video. A man can only entertain such depressing vibes for so long. So I went back to the desert to keep searching for that prismatic shard I've been lusting after. Unfortunately for me, I exited the skull cavern when I meant to eat this purple mushroom, so I had to restart my run all over again. But maybe this was all a part of Lady Luck's plan for me, as I finally managed to get that prismatic shard to drop. So a perfect way to put a cap on the evening was to sprint over to the pillars and collect my galaxy sword. Remember that reward Gunthar mentioned yesterday morning? Well, he conveniently left out that there was a cash prize of 40,000 G that I would receive, so that's a great way to start off day 46. Another great thing that happened this morning was I hit the max level of farming thanks to all these blueberries. As I was going to town, I helped Ian drag in some stuff from the bus stop before I popped in on Abigail to carry her in a quick game of co-op Prairie King. I sold off all my ripe produce to Pierre, then ran over to the bookseller to purchase and read Way of the Wind 2 Electric Boogaloo. I swiftly ran back to Pierre to spend what I had left on yet another new mod, the Expanded Backpack, which gives me a total of 48 slots to carry items. I went up to Ridgeside to chow down on some free grub from Pika, briefly hang out with Isabel, and gave Kenneth a birthday strawberry. Another day in Stardew Valley comes to an end in the Skull Cavern, as I killed some slimes and picked up the 9th level of combat before hitting the hay and selecting the artisan profession. Some more coffee beans and corn are ready for harvest the morning of day 47 before I make my way down to the forest to purchase some pine tar from the traveling merchant. Old Sebby boy needs me to get him some quartz. That pine tar was donated to the community center, and Demetrius got himself a birthday present before I made my first batch of iridium sprinklers. But before I get those set up, I had to introduce myself to the dwarf and pick up the best flooring recipe in the game. I then spent pretty much the entire day making this eastern section of the farm look aesthetically pleasing for my fall farm crop. But I was missing the second best flooring recipe, and I started day 48 at Robin's to grab that. While I was there, I chatted with Sebastian about what he does for work and finished his quartz quest before going back down into the Sunberry mines to get my 10th level of mining and to make it down to the final level and discover some rare type of crop seed. Farm beautification was the last thing on my list to do today, as the new crop field is really starting to come together. I finished this day off by selecting the prospector mining profession and checking out how much money I made from the Sunberry mines. The maki roll was the recipe of day 49's Queen of Sauce program, and it appears that the traveling merchant has 0 sauce in her inventory. I went over to East Scarp that morning where Juliet's dog is getting checked by Jacob, and Eloise needs some help writing a letter to her pen pal. Today is Idine's birthday, so she got a gift. And remember how I said Sunberry is a little OP? Well, Sunberry geodes are not excluded from that description, but I do need to crack them open to make some progress to their museum. Elias didn't seem too happy that I only had 2 minerals to donate. I saw Sam do a sick 50-50 plant box grind, and spent the afternoon chopping down some trees at the western part of the farm, where I unknowingly got the Woody Secret Skill Book. This will really help in future deforestations. And then finished the day back in the Sunberry mines looking for more of those minerals. Another round of blueberries are ready for harvest the morning of day 50, which is the dwarf's birthday. I gave him a nice little emerald before taking another very long walk to the desert to do another Skull Cavern session. I spent all day in here getting as deep as I could and came out with a pretty solid amount of copper, iron, gold, and iridium. Day 51 is a rainy one, but that's not stopping me from getting more coffee beans and collecting a whole bunch of eggs I totally didn't forget about donating to the community center. That morning, I hung out with Victor and read some books before he got scolded by his mother for not having a job. He's having a rough birthday, so hopefully this ancient fiber cheers him up. I exchanged a prize ticket for my first bit of Star Drop tea, cracked open some Omni Geodes at Clint's workshop, and got the new minerals donated. I then went back to Clint's and sold off 15 diamonds so that I had enough money to purchase the final vault bundle at the community center and completely restore it to its former glory. It's a terrible day for rain as our pal Andy looks at his old friend's disheveled vineyard. I finally broke down the stumps, keeping me from my grandfather's old shed that nature had reclaimed. I'm gonna need a lot of wood to fix it up, so I spent most of the evening collecting that and getting another foraging level before calling it a night and watching the Junimos repair the bus. No more walking to the desert for this guy. My girl Robin woke me up on day 52 to let me know that she can repair this old shed with my help. But unfortunately, she can't help me get down to level 100 of the Skull Cavern. That's what this jade and crystallariums are for. The train passing through Stardew Valley that morning pelted me with coal for being a bad boy, so I went down to the beach to do some recycling with Eli. With the beach now clean, Vincent can play in the sand, while his brother and I debate whether to tell him his father may never come back from the war. While I was near the pier, I stopped by Willie's to change my bobber to a duck, give him some birthday tuna, before getting some help from Gus to wrangle all these crabs that got loose. I hung out with the kiddos near their museum, confronted Pam about her late bar tab, and completed a request for Susan. I took the train down to the Stardew aquarium to drop off my most recent catches, and took a dip in the ocean. I would love to see some type of swimming mechanic come to the new 1.7 update, but I guess this will suffice for now. The remainder of the day was spent back in Pelican Town creating some tappers, going over the desert to plant and fertilize some tree seeds, before spending the moon-soaked evening clearing debris from the area surrounding Grandpa's shed. My pal Dylan hooked me up with a rainbow shell in the mail the morning of day 53, the birthday of Mr. Agar up in Ridgeside. Over at the train station, I decided to see their extra locations and stumbled upon this spooky little house I'll have to visit another day. After getting back to Pelican Town, I threw that rainbow shell in the box to progress the key quest, before running over to Zuzu City to give a birthday gift to the CEO of JoJa, Kristoff. I spent the remainder of the day doing a Skull Cavern run where I got a crystallarium from a treasure floor and mined out a decent amount of iridium ore. That crystallarium got plopped down and populated with some jade to start day 54 before I harvested my final round of blueberries for the season. Over at the Traveling Merchant, I bought some goat cheese, then went down to Pierre's to sell off my bloobs. Up at the community center, I donated some eggs for the animal bundle and deposited that goat cheese for the artisan bundle. I completed a request for 1 hot pepper from George, then ran down to Sunbury to dish with the ladies at the Cat Cafe and give Diala a birthday present. That afternoon, I did some fishing to collect some new scaly friends, helped out Kenneth as he attempted to replace light bulbs in a thunderstorm, and then did even more fishing at East Scarp. Fishing really was the theme today, as I finished it off by maxing out my fishing level and taking the angler profession as I slept. A batch of watermelons were ready for harvest just in time the morning of day 55, before I went up to Ridgeside to give Malaya a birthday present and assist Kiara with trash collecting near the aerial tramway. Over in East Scarp, I checked out Jacob's barn, which is full of cute animals, and ran into Victor nerding out about the Shearwater Bridge on my way back to Pelican Town. Victor also seems to be a talented magician as he was able to teleport to the lake. I encouraged Alyssa to continue her singing, then went up to Robin's to purchase another farm building, the barn. I dropped off some resources at Grandpa's shed for Robin to renovate it, but I was a handful of hardwood short, so I beelined it to the secret woods to farm more of that. I then spent the remainder of my evening at the Ridgeside Wilderness fighting all types of cosmic horrors. The Queen of Sauce taught me how to make bread to start off day 56, the last day of summer. I checked my mail and Diala sent the crafting recipe for the alchemy table, which I'll definitely have to explore at a later date. A final round of coffee beans are ready for harvest in the crop field, and then it was over to the secret woods to continue farming hardwood. Over in Sunbury, I ran into Iman, who was sad about her dream of owning a farm being so expensive, before running into Jesse, who gave me a free pumpkin seed to plant tomorrow. I then spent most of my day exploring the various towns and locating some interesting locations I'm sure I'll revisit later down the line. I saw the dwarf running around town outside of the mines for the first time, and unfortunately, showed up to the beach just a couple seconds too late to see the dance of the moonlight jellies. So I just stood sadly at the end of the pier, but editing Jack will throw in the soundtrack so that we can pretend to have attended the festival. Day 57 in the first day of autumn begins with Richard at my front door letting me know another villager has returned to Ridgeside. So another new person to befriend, along with a letter from Ophelia imploring me to make my way to Sunbury. Lorenzo's birthday is today, so I gave him some corn, then went down to Sunbury where I learned that the power of friendship will grow this plant. At the Secret Woods, Jesse saved a slime for my blade before I went over to the desert to tap some trees. Back in Pelican Town, I finally collected all the items to refurbish Grandpa's shed. Over at Pierre's, I purchased all the fall seeds I'll need for the season, then doubled back to the desert and picked up some seeds from Sandy. I then spent the remainder of the day planting and watering crops, only to pass out without watering all of them. So, a rainy morning on day 58 begins by utilizing some speed grow on the seeds I wasn't able to water last night. I grabbed a couple of fruits in the Bat Cave, caught Robin and Lewis repairing the special request board before giving Penny a birthday poppy. Up at the community center, I donated some items to the artisan bundle, then ran over to the desert where I utilized some fairy dust on the tapped trees I made yesterday to collect a bunch of sap, wax, syrup, resin, and water, which finished off the exotic foraging bundle. With the special request board up, East Scarp villagers now have special requests, and I accepted one from Dr. Jacob, and then went over to Pierre's to purchase all the corn that I'll need to collect to complete that request, along with some cranberry seeds. I then spent the final moments of the day fishing up the angler in the autumn moonlight. My barn is finally finished being built on day 59 as I pet my chickens. I learned that my boy Linus is also a wizard, as he was so upset that he couldn't get through to the summit that he just decided to plane shift through the train. I went up to Ridgeside, where this village also has its own special request board, but I'm really here to give Richard a birthday present. Over the Adventurers Guild, I found an amber artifact that goes into the field research bundle before completing the fall foraging bundle. I finished this day by reeling in some fish down by the beach and collecting some hardwood and foraging XP in the secret woods. Up in Ridgeside to start day 60, I picked up a request from Pika, gave Yuma a birthday present as he slept, then ran into Arya doing some Spartan-esque studying and rewarded her dedication with a coffee bean for her birthday. I grabbed all those recipes I've been tasked with door dashing from Pika, gave out a third birthday present to Nora at Cindersap Forest, before purchasing my first couple cows from Marnie. My live chat named them Shake and Butter. I quickly ran back home and gave them some pets, then chopped down some trees in the southwest part of the farm to relocate their barn before spending the remainder of the day clearing out their new home. Day 61 begins in said barn, making sure Shake and Butter are properly fed, then running down to the traveling trader who doesn't have anything of interest this morning. I replenished my supply of hardwood in the secret ones and spent a rainy morning cracking open some mystery boxes with Clint. I talked to Elliot about my favorite genre of literature, gave him some birthday crab cakes, then went back home to collect my first round of fall crops and sold off some of the normal quality produce. Up at Ridgeside, I began my door dashing, but was interrupted by the formal introduction of June the pianist and a very salacious cutscene where I caught Floor sleepwalking in nothing but a bath towel. But I went back to delivering all the meals to everyone in town, and that's how I finished day 61. Marnie woke me up the morning of day 62 with a simple request for a single cave carrot, so I quickly harvested all of my ripe eggplants before running down to her house to deliver it. While I was here, I also grabbed Lewis's boxers from her room and then went up to the greenhouse to donate some community center items and complete the artisan bundle. I purchased some additional pumpkin seeds at Pierre's, hung out with the Valley kiddos at the bus stop, then ran down to a renovated grandpa's shed, the perfect place to plop down my first of what will be many kegs. Those pumpkin seeds got sown in some pre-watered soil, and I took a well-needed trip back to Skull Cavern for a bit of destruction therapy. A section of beets are ready for harvest to kick off day 63, but I couldn't forget to check out the Queen of Sauce. The traveling merchant once again doesn't have anything of interest, so I spent the morning opening some geodes with Clint, where I unearthed a couple new minerals to donate. Over at East Scarp, I gave Rosa a birthday present, then journeyed with her and Eloise to an abandoned section of town that I'm sure I'll have to repair. I placed some of those harvest beets in Lewis's fridge and placed a solar essence with the dragon bones to progress the key casino quest and hop down into the mines quickly to max out my combat level. Back at home, I grabbed the club card from my firewood pile and went back to the desert to eliminate the bouncer in a flash of divine light so that I could spend the remainder of my evening gambling before taking the brute profession as I slept. I completely forgot to record the morning of day 64, so I'm showing you this clip from a future date of crops growing in Grandpa's shed, because I spent the morning of day 64 outfitting the second floor with sprinklers and planting a bunch of stuff. So let's pick up that afternoon by catching a cutscene of Pam being a Karen towards Martin and gifting Claire a birthday present while she's on duty. I collected some blackberries along with Linus's basket and promptly returned it to him at the summit, along with some cranberries to complete a request. After debating whether to return them or not, I finally buckled and gave Lewis his underwear back, completed another couple of requests for Robin, Demetrius, Ezekiel, and Trini, before running down to the mines to dispatch a ghost filled with ectoplasm for my friend Resmodius. And to end another exciting day in the valley, I got some hops fermenting in my keg for the Pam Pale Ale quest. The mini obelisk crafting recipe was added to my repertoire the morning of day 65, and I got my first bit of milk from Shake and Butter. I harvested my first bit of cranberries, stopped by Pierre's to purchase even more pumpkin seeds, and got those sown and watered before running out to the desert to hunt for artifacts. I found and read my favorite book in the game, before running into Victor when I returned to Pelican Town grieving over his lost cat. That evening, I got a little bit schwasty with my boy Elliot, bought Claire a delicious salad, then continued drinking with Eli, who flirted with Emily, much to Clint's chagrin. I then spent a drunken evening exploring the valley where I found an important apple, and just spent the late hours aimlessly wandering around the sanctuary. Partially hungover, I completed the fodder bundle to kick off day 66, before sobering up so I could hang out with Penny and the kiddos at the museum. I donated some of the artifacts I found yesterday to Gunther, accepted a Slime Slayer quest, then was introduced to Sophia's best friend, Scarlet. But the day is headlined by shaking this blackberry bush, giving me the final bit of XP I needed to max out the foraging skill, opening up the path to mastery, and unlocking the door to Grandpa's cave, where I'll need to keep grinding that XP. Down at Sunbury, I saw the locals set up their own personal request board. I gave Maya a birthday present at the workshop, then went back to Pelican Town to dispatch all the red slimes needed to get another prize ticket from Lewis. That pale ale is finally done fermenting at Grandpa's shed, so I could complete a request from Pam that evening. That request from Robin I completed a couple days ago was to expand the Adventurers Guild. So I was introduced to Gabriel and his sister, Zinnia, the former of which showed me to his research wing that I'm sure will give me a bunch of new stuff to do. While I was there, I picked up the Mapping Cave Systems book and gave that a read and finished the day by killing some slimes, providing their internal organs to Gabriel, then going to bed, where I selected the botanist foraging profession. Gabriel showed up to my front door the morning of day 67 with some crafting recipes he needs me to make. But that's a problem for future Jack. Present Jack has some yams ready for harvest, more pumpkin seeds to buy, and a friend named Sam he needs to cover for. But what I was really here for was to give his mom a diamond in the hopes that she would leave Kent for me. I donated more crops to the community center, threw down even more pumpkin seeds, and hung out with Claire on her lunch break before running up to Ridgeside to witness Arya receiving a tongue lashing from her mom. Another problem for future Jack, as I'm just here to catch some fish. I accepted another Ridgeside special request, then went down to East Scarp, where I found Mateo flirting with Ideen at the beach before finishing my day by doing more fishing. A rainy day 68 begins at the Traveling Merchant, who has some caviar for me to purchase, before going back up to Ridgeside to give June a birthday coffee bean. I then spent most of what would become a very short day looking for a Zuzu City resident named Max. But after hours of looking around the city, I could not find this dude to save my life. So I ended the super quick day by depositing all the corn needed to finish Dr. Jacob's request in East Scarp. And my thanks for all that corn arrived the morning of day 69. A dozen eggs. That's the last time I do something for the East Scarp villagers. I violently harvested some cranberries to relieve that stress, collected my first bit of large milk from one of the cows, then went over to Pierre's to get more sweet potato seeds and give Abigail her favorite snack as a birthday gift. I got that large milk donated, collected some expensive watermelon jelly from my preserve jars back on the farm, before planting and fertilizing the sweet potato seeds I just bought. The remainder of the day was spent in the desert collecting some tree tapper byproducts, then down in the Skull Cavern where I got another dinosaur egg that I'll be able to give to the museum. I picked up the trout soup recipe from the Queen of Sauce to start day 70, where the Traveling Merchant has the all-important red cabbage for me to purchase. I really debated turning it into seeds and waiting until I got the greenhouse, but ultimately I decided to directly donate it to the community center before heading back home to harvest my first round of pumpkins. I got those pickling in the preserve jars, then went up to the mountains where I discovered that Eli and Dylan have the ability to use travel totems just like me. Over at Robbins, I learned how to make flute and drum blocks, but I was really here to upgrade my coop. I quickly ran up to Ridgeside to give Ian a birthday present before finishing off the Fall Crops bundle and making more progress on the Quality Crops bundle, which prompts another round of pumpkin seeds that need to be purchased and sown. I then spent the remainder of my day farming dust sprites for that legendary burglar's ring. After that diamond gift, Jody invited me to her house for a largemouth bass dinner to start day 71, but I'll get to that later. I harvested some ripe pumpkins in the crop field, went over to the desert to give Sandy a sweet pea birthday present, and added more oak trees to my soon-to-be resin farm. I completed a request for one aquamarine with Mateo, accepted Demetrius's aquatic overpopulation quest, and spent most of the day in East Scarp catching the required tiger trout to complete that. I ended the day at the Sunbury Mines looking for the remaining minerals I need to donate. The morning of day 72, I got a couple pieces of mail. One from Demetrius with the farm computer crafting recipe, and another from an unknown sender who is selling seeds. I got my first round of crops harvested from Grandpa's shed, went over to the Secret Woods to get some hardwood and my first level of mastery. I selected Farming Mastery as my first bonus, then made my way over to the annual Stardew Valley Fair. Of course, I chatted with everyone in attendance for those relationship points, and threw my rarest items into my stall, which was given the blue ribbon with a 102 point rating. I did a bit of gambling initially to have enough stars to purchase another star drop along with the prize ticket and rare crow, before doing another round of betting on green to get that furniture catalog. And as another exciting festival day came to an end, I spent what I had left in the day emptying and refilling the preserve jars with pumpkins. My big coop was finished by Robin overnight, so the first thing I did on day 73 was get a dinosaur egg cooking. I used my brand new Iridium scythe to harvest some pumpkins, got a cutscene where Lenny spilled the beans on Lewis's relationship with Marty, then used a prize ticket to acquire and read the Friendship 101 skill book. I did some panning with Poxeel in the desert, grabbed a free bouquet from Jemana, and gave Amina a birthday present before doing an impromptu jam session with Abigail in the mountains. I had the deluxe cube queued up with Robin, and then used my remaining funds to upgrade my pickaxe to gold with Clint, and purchase a couple of ducks my live chat named Bubbles and Poyo. While doing some artifact hunting, I found a modded skill book called the Children's Sketchbook. I went up to Zuzu City where I was almost a victim of vehicular manslaughter and had to end the day without giving a birthday present to Sadie. Because honestly, I just can't seem to find any of these Zuzu City residents. So with back-to-back rainy days, I start day 74 in earnest by crafting a couple of more kegs, and finally reading the skill book I found yesterday, which will increase the drop rate of rare items from artifact spots. I used my scythe to harvest some ripe cranberries, then went to Grandpa's shed to install and fill up some kegs with pumpkins. Today is Dylan's birthday, so I gave him his favorite meal and a hug, then found a diamond just chilling in Emily's trash can. Marnie got herself a birthday present at the doctor's office, Ideen got some corn back in East Scarp, and I spent the remainder of the day farming wood near Aurora Vineyard and replenishing my bank account by selling a whole bunch of recently harvested crops. And speaking of crops, even more ready for collecting the morning of day 75. I quickly said hello to all my new feathered friends, then went over to Clint's to collect my golden pickaxe, before running over to Marty's to purchase a rabbit named Clover. I completed Caroline's pumpkin request and Pika's mayonnaise request, before grabbing another quest from Freddy. Now that Clint has some bandwidth, I turned in my axe to get upgraded, before putting my new pickaxe to work in the Skull Cavern. This session was highlighted by a prismatic shard on a treasure floor and a rare rabbit's foot drop from a serpent. I got a letter from Lenny the morning of day 76 with the details for Ridgeside's annual Fall Gathering Festival, but before I attend that, I need some more stamina. That will be accomplished by taking the sweet gemberry over to the Secret Woods and exchanging it with Old Master Cannoli for another star drop. I quickly completed the Enchanter's Bundle, went over to Zuzu City where I was surprisingly able to find and give a birthday present to Gwen, then made my way to Ridgeside to participate in today's festival. I talked to all the festival goers and found a couple of very handy items to purchase as everyone came around the stage to watch Sam and his band play us into the evening, where I ended the day by crafting a seed maker and making some ancient fruit seeds overnight. Glazed yams were the recipe of choice to learn from the Queen of Sauce on day 77, and the traveling merchant hooked it up with a truffle that I can donate to the chef bundle. I got another round of eggplants chopped with my scythe, then ran over to Clint's to pick up my golden axe. There's a whole slate of birthdays today, starting with Carmen down at the beach. I accepted a request from Penny for 1 iron bar and finished off today's birthday gifting to Durya and Robin, who is my first best friend in the valley. I then spent the rest of the day in Grandpa's shed planting that ancient seed and prepping the field for more seeds. On day 78, I received a notification about something going on in the Sunbury mines, so I quickly harvested a batch of pumpkins at the crop field, gifted Jasper a blueberry for his birthday, and accepted Willie's Bug Guts special request, and went down to Sunbury where I saw Jumana and Amina doing some flower watering. Down in the Sunbury mines, I went to the lowest floor where I met Pip and Pep, 2 little creatures that sell some of the rarest items in the game, for frankly a ridiculously cheap price. This further proves to me that Sunbury is kind of like an endgame DLC for vanilla Stardew, because in my opinion, these items should never be able to be acquired this way and not for this price. But that's not going to stop your boy from getting some auto petters and ancient seeds. I collected my pumpkin juice from the kegs and finished the day by placing my auto petters, feeling a bit guilty by the manner in which I was able to get them. But by the time day 79 came around, I didn't feel guilty at all. I was in the crop field harvesting some cranberries and sweet potatoes before going over to the museum to say hello to Penny and donate one of those ancient seeds I bought so I could get the recipe to make more. Now that I had 5 gold quality sweet potatoes, I could complete the quality crops bundle at the community center before I ran back to Grandpa's shed to plant some more ancient seeds. Up at Ridgeside, I played tag with some of the kiddos, Sean, Blair, and Carmen, before going back to Pelican Town to crack some Sunbury geodes with Clint. I finally had all the minerals to complete the Sunbury Museum Part 1 quest, which rewarded me with a ludicrous 20,000 G. I'm sure I'll spend that later, but Maddie needs herself a birthday present before I end the day in the desert, collecting a golden relic artifact along with some tree byproducts, and doing a Skull Cavern dive where I got a new shirt to wear. The rain has returned to the valley on day 80, where another round of pumpkins and mandrake roots are ready for harvest. I received the second request from Elias to restore the Sunbury Museum, comforted local jock Alex, and gave his grandpa a prismatic shard for his birthday. I spent the afternoon in the library hanging out with Nora, who revealed that she is an author as well as a herpetologist, then spent the rest of the day running around town killing grubs on the road towards Zuzu, and in the mines just collecting guts. I received a letter on day 81 letting me know about tomorrow's Sunbury Twilight Festival, which I'm sure won't have any crazy items for sale. I quickly harvested all the ripe crops, went up to the train station where I picked up some leprechaun shoes, and accepted a request from Demetrius. The bookseller came to town today, so I exchanged my extra books for some items, and purchased the old Slitherlegs book, so now I'll never lose speed when traversing crops or grasses. Today is Mateo's birthday, so I gave them a fairy rose and received some glass shards in exchange, and then spent another evening farming grubs to get more bug guts for Willy. While I was in the mines, I also reached my second level of mastery with this diamond node, and my live chat demanded I take fishing mastery. As I slept, Rasmodius' ex-wife left a little present for me in my chicken coop. I gladly collected the void egg the next morning, and day 82 begins in earnest by collecting eggplants and hanging out with June over at Pika's. While exploring the wilderness of Ridgeside, I found this monster musk that the game would not let me collect, but I probably wouldn't want it anyway given the mobs you can find up here. I gave Corinne some honey for her birthday, saw a golden Junimo playing peekaboo with Jasper in Cindersap Forest, and then went back home to collect my Twilight feathers that can be spent at the Twilight Festival in Sunbury. While there are some stalls here that sell reasonable things like food, you also have Silas that just sells endgame rings. The only thing I bought though were neat outfit items like this living hat from Ezra before ending the day with another pumpkin juicing session. And speaking of pumpkins, I got my final round of them harvested to start day 83. I gave Paula a prismatic shard for her birthday, then walked over to Zuzu City where I was able to find and give a birthday present to Cal. Over in East Scarp, I helped Rosa out of a tree she climbed into while being pursued by a demonic goat, and then saw that Eli was able to see the Junimos like me before spending another evening collecting as many bug guts as I could. Today is the Spears Eve Festival, and 𝘂𝘁 wins my vote for the best costume contest. I purchased the jack-o'-lantern recipe and rare crow from Pierre, and finished the festival off by completing the maze and collecting a golden pumpkin. Day 84 and the final day of autumn begins with Sam informing me of his band's gig at Zuzu City, and Lewis telling me another couple of villagers are coming to East Scarp. So, that's more I get to befriend. I got a final round of cranberries harvested, picked up the artichoke dip recipe from the Queen of Sauce, and gave Susan some cookies for her birthday. I contributed a couple more artifacts to the museum that afternoon, then descended back into the mines to finally collect the remaining bug guts I needed to complete Willy's godforsaken request. I went out to the desert that evening to collect some tree byproducts and do a brief skull cavern session, and ended the season as hues of purple and blue were painted onto Stardew Valley as autumn turns into winter. As snow covered the ground of the valley on day 85, the first day of winter, I started the day clearing out all the dead autumn crops, then running into the coop where my dinosaur egg has finally hatched. My live chat named it Gerald, and then I went to Cindersap Forest to hang out with Nora. Over by the Aurora Vineyard, I did a bit of winter foraging, accepted a request from Demetrius, and bought a whole bunch of mint seeds from Pierre. Beatrice needs a whole bunch of quartz for a special request, and I enjoyed a moment with Willy and his sentient glob of bug guts before finishing off the winter foraging bundle, which was the last bit of donations to complete the crafts room. I then finished off the day by hitting up Zuzu City to support Sam and the gang, planted all the mint that I bought this morning, and going to bed as the Junimos repaired the bridge to the quarry. Day 86 begins in the coop collecting a whole bunch of eggs, then discovering a shadow guy at the bus stop. I located him just chilling in this bush and received the magnifying glass. I accepted a quest from the wizard, did some fishing down at the beach, bought some more mint seeds at Pierre's before going up to the fountain to give a birthday present to Jarek. At the bus stop, I learned all about Pan's regret about not becoming a pilot, grabbed some pumpkin juice at the shed, then helped Sebastian repair his motorcycle. As the sun set, I planted some more mint seeds at the crop fields, then went down into the skull cavern to kill some ghosts and even got my first secret note. I started day 87 by throwing some fire quartz into the smelters, then beelined it to Linus's tent to give my boy some cactus fruit for his birthday. And while I was up here in the mountains, I hit up Robin's to upgrade my barn. I then saw a couple of cutscenes where I refused to adopt Linus on my farm, had some coffee and some good times at the Cat Cafe, and gave the demon Rayhana a birthday present. I completed Rasmodius' ghost request, then went over to Lewis's to get some prizes. I stopped by the museum to drop off some artifacts, helped out Dr. Jacob by collecting all these chickens that have escaped their coop, then went down to the beach to collect a nautilus shell. I found an old journal while helping Rosa clean out an old attic, then went over to the community center to complete the field research bundle. I then spent the remainder of the day looking for quartz in the Skull Cavern for Beatrice's special request. Rayhana and Linus sent me some mail the morning of day 88, where I used a bunch of resources to craft the Statue of Blessings, so now I can get a free buff every day. As Robin upgraded my barn, I made sure my cows were well fed, then plopped down a cookout kit to start making recipes. I needed some ingredients from my friend Pierre before I can make the fried egg and maki roll required for the chef's bundle at the community center. I spent the afternoon in the mines finding the final quartz to complete Beatrice's special request and earned 6,000 G. That evening, I spent some time at the saloon and assisted Philip since he can't hold his liquor, bought the candy recipe from Gus, and did what I needed to do in Linus's tent to get the wild bait recipe. The last order of business on day 88 was to bomb out all the stones and ores in the quarry and read the secret notes I found after doing so. Philip woke me up to start day 89 to apologize for needing my help outside the saloon last night, but it's right to work for me as I've got a piece of wool ready for collection in the coop. Another thing I need to check on is a traveling merchant who has a duck feather I'm excited to purchase. It took me a minute, but I was able to reel in yet another legendary fish in the Cinder Sap Forest, then went over to Marty's to purchase a goat that my live chat named Oatmeal. Over at Pierre's, I picked up some more ingredients and the birch syrup recipe so that I can cook up a delicious piece of candy. And with that confectionery, not only can I complete the animal bundle thanks to that earlier wool, and fully revitalize the pantry, but I can also complete the dye bundle and chef's bundle, finally restoring the entire community center to its former glory as the 𝘠𝘵𝘠 return to their homeland. But the perfection grind continues even with the community center complete, and the friendship of every villager, including birthday girl Blair, will be very important. I also discovered another new resident of East Scarp I'll have the joy of befriending, some type of lizard person named Lexi. I then spent the remainder of the day in the desert tapping some more oak trees and expanding my farm of pine trees that will be chopped down eventually. As I slept, the greenhouse was repaired by the 𝘠𝘵𝘠s, and they evicted that pesky raccoon. Thanks to completing the community center, day 90 begins by getting a whole bunch of new best friends thanks to the boost in points from the bulletin board. I also received a letter from Clint to give Emily an amethyst. Over in the crop field, my first round of mint is ready for harvest, and then I ran to East Scarp to see Ideen providing some medical aid to Mateo and give Eli a gift for his birthday, before giving another birthday gift to Victoria, who, fun fact, has a basement filled to the brim with slimes. I taught Lexi how to grow her own crops in her cave, then ran over to Pelican Town to see the grand reopening of the Stardew Valley Community Center and watch Pierre ice Morris in the front room. I collected the stone 𝘠𝘵𝘠 statue from behind the community center, found Pierre's secret stash, whatever that is, then bought some more mint seeds to resow my fields that I harvested this morning. That afternoon, I hung out with Jesse and Linus and had some food and beverages over the fire. I moved my greenhouse with the assistance of Robin and spent some time making some paths for beautification and more movement speed. That night, I completed Clint's request and got a smooch from Emily, learned that Mateo was tricked into robbing the museum, explaining why it was empty when I arrived at town, then caught a squid while I was down at the docks. I assisted Abigail with her swordsmanship practice, gave that squid to Willie to complete a request and get a new best friend, then went back home to craft a slime soul that I quickly took over to the Adventurers Guild. With the assistance of Gabriel and Zinnia, the three of us hatched a little slime friend that Zinnia named Silly. Obviously, I sided with her to keep him alive, I'm not a monster, so I ended the day with another new resident I get to befriend. Day 91 begins by collecting the plum pudding recipe from the Queen of Sauce and discovering a teleportation rune on the ground near the Hat Mouse. Obviously, I went to explore that and was transported to a deep forest maze that I'll solve later. I dug up an artifact spot and got my first golden animal cracker, then ran over to the wizard tower and drank a potion so that I can understand Silly the slime. Back on the farm, my void egg finally hatched, and the resulting chick was named Shadow by my live chat. With the destruction of 𝘠𝘵𝘠, a sad side effect is that Claire and Juliet lost their jobs, but at least Jesse offered to take over as Juliet's community service employer. Abigail is going to get some community service if she keeps talking to my girl Caroline like that, especially because it's her birthday. Why is so mean to your mom on her birthday? I went over to the museum to tell Gunther about Mateo and learned that Martin was adopted, but I was really here to donate some new artifacts. Back home, I harvested another crop of mint, then ran over the desert to exchange all my jade for staircases and go all the way down to level 100 in the Skull Cavern, but I forgot that I needed a specific secret note from Mr. Key to get the iridium snake milk, so that was quite a waste of jade. And Sandy couldn't help me out either, as I ended my day by watching her teleport away. I started day 92 in the greenhouse planting some trees and getting a bunch of random crops planted. Today is the Festival of Ice, so I made sure to purchase the rare crow and talk to everyone in attendance before competing in the fishing competition, and obviously taking first place. And with that final festival scarecrow collected, I picked up the one from the dwarf, then went over to Key's Casino to gamble and earn enough key coins to grab a statue of treasure and the alien rare crow to end a short day. Right behind a coupon from Pierre is the deluxe scarecrow recipe, the perfect way to start day 93. On the route to Zuzu City, I found some loose ice cream underneath a tree and ran up to the sanctuary to give Zuzu City resident David a birthday present. Speaking of the sanctuary, I've never properly explored this area, including this cave, which, similar to Sunbury, is full of rare stuff and mysteries that I probably won't revisit till the endgame. But to finish this day off, I visited the secret woods, equipped with some maple syrup to get the bear special power, and cleared out another section of the farm of trees and weeds. Day 94 begins with a gift of a garden pot from Evelyn, and I paid it forward by giving Sebastian a cucumber. Later that morning, I learned exactly why Juliet needs to do community service, then accepted Clint's special cave patrol request. Down by the docks, I discovered the broken down boat in Willie's, admonished Jody and Caroline for gossiping about Juliet, and hung out at the swing set with Lyanne, who later got herself a birthday present. Over at Clint's, I queued up my pan steel upgrade, then ran back to Willie's to repair the ticket machine and anchor. And since I didn't have enough hardwood, I went around East Scarp looking for stumps to crush. I completed Olivia's diamond request and finished the day by accompanying Mateo to apologize to Gunther and Marlin. I got the secret note to get the iridium snake's milk, and spent the evening killing grubs to progress Clint's quest. Another round of mint is ready for scything down the morning of day 95, so of course I bought more seeds at Pierre's and befriended one of the Ridgeside children with a birthday present. As I was collecting hardwood, I found a neat little secret note that had some Ridgeside village lore in it, and another note showing a young Mateo and the man who manipulated them into robbing the museum. I spent the afternoon doing some light reading, then completed the boat repairs with 200 hardwood. I got those extra sections of mint planted, then went down to Cindersap Forest to gather some wood and get enough XP to reach another mastery level and unlock Combat Mastery. I ended the day by farming some grubs in the mines and collecting secret notes and watching Willie and Robin finally repair the boat to Ginger Island. Day 96 begins with the acceptance of another request from Rasmodius, which was easy enough to complete, and I watched on as he used that Void Spirit to create a protective barrier around the forest. I gifted Gunther an extra dinosaur egg for his birthday, then paid Willie 1,000 G to take my first trip to Ginger Island. I collected my first golden walnut in the rainforest and pretty much spent the afternoon running around collecting golden walnuts, grabbing a dragon tooth in my first volcano run, and even got a really nice dwarf hammer. After killing a dragon, I picked up my first ever trinket, a basilisk paw, and made my way all the way up to the volcano summit and met everyone's favorite adventurer, Lance. I caught enough walnuts today to properly introduce myself to Leo, and utilized the leftover walnuts to open a route to the island farm and dig site to end the day. Lance woke me up on day 97 to give me his work schedule before I saw a couple of cutscenes with Idine's cat in East Scarp and Ezra in Sunbury. There are a couple of birthdays today, starting with Moon the Junimo in Sunbury, then over to East Scarp to give Sen a diamond. While I was there, I met Corwin the pirate, who came to deliver some sad news about Beatrice's husband, and returned to Clint's smithery to collect my steel pan. Back on the farm, I cleared out another section of trees and seeds, and spent the remainder of the day in the Skull Cavern just looking for copper. I learned how to make some chocolate cake the morning of day 98, and then made my way to Ginger Island to set up some sprinklers for future crop fields. While on the island, I started Birdie's Pirate Locket quest and failed the Simon Says puzzle for some golden walnuts, and then went back to Pelican Town. I gifted Harvey a rabbit's foot for his birthday, and went down into the mines to kill the final grubs needed to complete Clint's special request. So I just finished my day by collecting my prize ticket and monetary reward. I got myself the Geode Crusher crafting recipe in the mail from Clint to kick off day 99, and visited the Bat Cave for the first time in a minute to collect some fruit. Over at the special request board, I accepted Gunther's Bone Fragments quest, and saw some sad cutscenes of Aicha scaring off the villagers as she was just trying to connect with some people. Again, very rude of the residents of Stardew Valley to do that specifically on the person's birthday. Today is also Edith, the governor's wife's birthday, so I gave her some maple syrup, then went over to Ginger Island to farm some bone fragments and exchange some golden walnuts to the parrots so they can repair the island hut. And to finish off this day, I set off a bomb back at the dig site to free Professor Snail. I spent the morning of day 100 harvesting all the readied mint in the crop field and helping out my girl Irene by taste testing her spicy eel before giving Louie a birthday present. My first round of ancient fruit are ready for plucking that afternoon, so I turned them all into seeds to grow even more. I went back to Ginger Island to continue farming bone fragments, and I was even able to complete the snake fossil and collect some walnuts and a mango sapling. I then spent most of the day on the island doing various side quests to collect more golden walnuts and spend those golden walnuts for the volcano escape hatch and purchase some crafting recipes from the dwarf. That evening, everyone in the valley gathered at the night market, and I spent that time fishing for rare creatures in the submarine before purchasing the cone hat to end the day. 𝘚𝘵𝘢𝘁𝘐𝑚 birthday headlines day 101, so I gave him a purple mushroom and spent most of the day in Ginger Island doing a volcano run and collecting even more golden walnuts. Back at Pelican Town, I completed 𝘚𝘪𝘪's Fragments of the Past quest, then met a couple of adventurers threatening Lewis. I spent that evening hanging out in the back rooms of the saloon with 𝘚𝘪𝘪, Marlon, and Mateo, then gave Clint an iron bar to complete another request. I ended my day by indulging in a bit of masochism by playing a couple rounds of Junimo Kart before admitting defeat. My mailbox is filled to the brim with some exciting stuff to kick off day 102. An invitation to learn magic from the wizard, the bone mill recipe from 𝘚𝘪𝘪, and the identity of my Feast of the Winter Star gifter, Haley. Down at the greenhouse, I got a couple of random crops harvested, then went up to Ridgeside to give Freddy a birthday present, and helped him down to Pelican Town to do some errands. I went back up to Ridgeside and did some babysitting, before heading over to the Wizard's Tower where 𝘚𝘵𝘢𝑚odius taught me how to change my appearance, and then went up with him to the train station to start the inquest. While I was there, I enjoyed some hot chocolate with Susan, and spent the rest of the evening clearing out more trees and weeds from the farm. The morning of day 103, I stopped by the forest to start the raccoon family quest, then ran down to Sunbury to give Ari a birthday herring. Up in Zuzu City, I gave Hazel a birthday present as well, before running into Sunny and Louie at the bus stop, where I was once again asked to do more babysitting. That afternoon, I spent some time checking out some previously unexplored locations around the valley, then went to the museum to drop off a couple of artifacts. It seemed like �𝘚𝘪 followed me to the Adventurers Guild and asked me to escort him in the mines, which I agreed to do, before giving Marlon a birthday present. While I was here, I stopped in to check in on Gabriel and Silly and make sure they're getting along well, and then Marlon confided in me that there was a shadow person living in the sewers, and I officially met Krobus. I saw Mateo picklock Lewis into the house that he locked himself out of, then ran back into the sewers to purchase another star drop. I made my way to the mutant bug lair and ended my day by collecting the Dark Talisman. On day 104, the wizard dropped by to let me know I'll be learning some teleportation magic, then saw a couple of cutscenes where I helped out my boy George, and did a bit of creeping on Alex as he pumped some iron. I became best friends with Evelyn after giving her a birthday present, then went down to the wizard tower where he taught me how to create teleportation runes, and showed me my personal enchanted grove, where a teleport directly to the wizard tower became my first rune. Up at the train station, I accepted Marlon's invitation to join in on some high-level adventurers meetings, before activating the Dark Talisman and taking my first steps into the Witch's Swamp, where I totally didn't waste the entire evening getting lost or anything like that. I woke up on day 105 and decided to use my newfound magic to levitate and put a teleportation rune to my grove in the sky above my house. Then went back inside to watch my favorite cooking program and learn how to make pumpkin pie. Over in the coop, I got some void mayo going, then went to the secret woods to collect some hardwood. Up in Ridgeside, I got a new best friend in the form of Pika, then went back down to Pelican Town to crack open some geos and donate the new stuff I got to the museum. A whole bunch of oak trees have grown out in the desert, so I got those tapped and planted another row of oak seeds before returning to Clint's to start upgrading my trash can. All that hardwood I got this morning was to complete a request for my good pal Robin, and to create a bridge to what appears to be an abandoned house in East Scarp. That evening, I interrupted a fight between Krobus and the dwarf, and finished the day off by catching the mutant carp legendary fish. I'm back in the coop to start day 106 to pick up that void mayo before doing some artifact hunting in Sunbury, where I found a cool new shirt. I said hello to Silas and Maya, accompanied my boy 𝘚𝘚𝘪 to the mines, and then created another teleportation point near the Adventurers Guild. I then caught a cutscene with Silly as he explained why slimes hate humans. Spoiler alert, they got killed by them. And then I went to the town square to give Gabriel a birthday present and enjoyed Community Day talking to all the townsfolk. Sophie and I spent some time playing with Dusty, then I did some heavy reading back at the farm. After that, I went over to the Witch's Swamp, bribed the goblin with some void mayo, and collected the Wizard's Magic Ink, giving me the ability to purchase a bunch of new farm buildings, including some new obelisks for Ridgeside and East Scarp. And speaking of East Scarp, I found some of their denizens enjoying a night at the secret woods, as I was there to get more hardwood to end the day. Day 107 begins in Sunberry Village, where the seed we found all the way back on day 48 has finally grown into golden sunberries. While I was down here, I made sure to grab a new best friend in Elias, had a little picnic with Penny and the kiddos, before running into Leia getting a call from her ex, as I originally came here to give her a birthday present. Over at the special request board, I accepted one from Jas, then went to Clint's to collect my copper trash can and get him started on the steel upgrade. I spent the afternoon trying to get a largemouth bass, expanding my ancient seed crop fields, and finished the day by cooking up that delicious bass with Sam and his mom and doing some stargazing with Maru. Leia was at my door to start day 108 to give me an art piece she's been working on before I went into the greenhouse to collect a bunch of ripe crops. That afternoon, I started working on my shipping bin progress by selling off a bunch of crops, and as day turned to night, I caught the final perch I needed to finish Jas's request. Got some more hardwood in the secret woods, dropped off those fish at East Scarp, and I finished the day off by planting more mixed seeds in the greenhouse and watched the money come in as Santa flew by my house as I slept. I spent the morning of day 109 in Ridgeside collecting some forageables, making sure Floor didn't concuss herself falling down the stairs, before taking her to Paula to just double check that she's good. Today is the Feast of the Winter Star, so I talked to everyone at the festival, gave Haley my gift, which was an iridium quality coconut, and ended a short day by receiving a gift of a singular ruby from my pal Harvey. Back up at Ridgeside to start day 110, I helped Irene get an item from a high shelf, then gave Shanice a birthday present and got a new best friend. Lorenzo went full Italian on the kiddos outside of Heaps, and then I became best friends with soon-to-be bachelor Clint. I made a trip out to Ginger Island that afternoon and cleared some stumps and large rocks off the crop field, spent some golden walnuts on a bridge, and did a volcano dungeon run that completed the Dougie Monster Slayer goal to end the day. I started day 111 by planting some more ancient seeds in Grandpa's shed, getting some Star Drop tea from the prize machine, before heading over to Clint's to pick up my steel trash can and queue up the gold trash can. While I was here, I got some artifact troves cracked open and donated the goodies inside them to the museum before dropping off a birthday gift to Sophia to get her to 8 Hearts of Friendship. Down in Sunbury, I donated some more artifacts to their regional museum, then went up to Ridgeside to gift Irene a present for her birthday as well. After a quick trip to Ginger Island, I did a volcano dungeon run complete with a couple of dragon teeth, picked up the island totem recipe, and opened a rare treasure chest and got some dragon scale boots to end the day. Day 112 and the final day of year 1 begins by grabbing the cranberry candy recipe and getting 2 letters from Iman and Lenny, the latter inviting me to the Ember of Resolutions festival this evening. As I went into the coop, another chick was born and I named it Katsu, and then I went over to the desert to pick up a bunch of oak resin, which I quickly utilized to make 24 kegs, as I truly got started on my great keg farm. Back up at Ridgeside, I helped Paula move some heavy boxes, reached 8 Hearts of Friendship with birthday boy Shiro, then went into the mines to farm enough copper to make 4 flute blocks. Over to a rainy Ginger Island, I realized I can't use the flute blocks until the beach resort is built, so I ran around the island looking for more golden walnuts and doing the best I could to get the amount I needed. But I unfortunately didn't have enough time or brain power to get it done. As the moon came out to play, I comforted and upset Arya and her father's broken down pickup truck and made my way to the Ridgeside Summit for the Ember of Resolutions Festival. I talked to everyone that was there and enjoyed the warmth of a massive fire as an exciting first year in a mega-modded Stardew Valley came to an end. Thank you so much for watching my video. I really appreciate all the patience you guys and gals have shown waiting for this project. After I 100% Stardew Expanded, I definitely felt a little burnt out on Stardew. So I explored the Persona series, I perfected Animal Parade, I experimented with some other games outside, like the cozy farm sim genre, and then of course Grand Bazaar came out, which, I had to 100% that. But with the 1.7 update coming in hopefully the near future, I'm super excited to get back into Stardew, and we'll be playing it a lot the rest of 2026. With all that being said, if you made it all the way to this part of the video, thanks again for watching. If you want to support the channel outside of you just clicking on this video, you should subscribe and enable notifications, take your clicker and slap a big ol' like on that little like button thingy, and leave a comment below with the toilet emoji to join the toilet gang. If you want to get more involved in my community, follow me on Blue Sky and Twitch, and make sure to join my community Discord server. All of those are linked in the description. We always have a good time over on the Discord server, and you have the opportunity to make some new friends and enter giveaways. So with all that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you in my next video.